Right there. There we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Wiza, let me be the first to say welcome to 2024.
Actually, yeah, I think you were the first to say it like that.
Mhm.
Welcome to 2024.
Welcome to 2024. Yes, we're so
But
glad that you.
if you remember Lionel Joseph from Trading Places, Merry New Year.
Now there's a movie reference I didn't think I would hear when I woke up this morning, but that is the theme of these Mayor's Mondays here with Mike Wiza. And for those of you that don't know, again, yeah, here we are. Welcome to 2024. We're so glad that you have chosen to fly with us here. So seat back in the full upright position, tray table closed,
And locked.
and locked. Boom. Let's get to it. Why is this going to be the best year ever in Stevens Point?
Well, it's going to be the most recent year ever. Um, so far, though, I got to admit, 2024 is not so bad. The weather is like unseasonably great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely comfortable with this staying till April and then warming up. There's a lot of people that aren't now. Ice fishing. I got a friend who's in the bait business. These things are devastating, especially in northern Wisconsin, where you rely on snowmobiles and tourism and ice fishing and all these things. And if there's no snow, there's no business. So that stinks a little bit, which really goes to show that climate change is a real thing. And it's not just going to affect a few people, it's affecting things that you probably haven't even thought of.
Mm-hmm.
With warmer temperatures and the shifting of seasons, and this is well, I don't know if it made a record. I didn't actually check the log books, but it was going to be like the warmest 2024 December on record, and I don't know if it actually came in at record or not, but regardless, take a look outside and tell me that climate change isn't happening.
Yeah, and yeah, I haven't seen the final records as well. I don't know if you set a record in Stevens Point on Christmas. I believe we did here in Wausau. I'd have to double check with my friends at WAOW on that. So don't quote me on it. But what we will quote you on is, I mean, how is the city handling this? Obviously, you've barely touched the salt and the sand in the shed there. You've
Right.
got a lot of plows.
Overtime's at an all-time low.
Yeah,
I'm
overtime's at an
probably
all-time.
exaggerating. I really
Yeah.
don't know. But I can
Yeah,
tell you that we've had none. There
yeah.
hasn't been a need. I've gotten so far 0 snow plowing complaints through the whole
Wow.
city, which is that in itself is a record.
Uh-huh.
And so far in 2024, I haven't gotten any snow complaints.
Wow.
And well, so far in 2024, I haven't even gotten a pothole complaint. Well, mostly because I was out of the office yesterday. So
That is true. That is
but
true. So,
no, 2024 is really shaping up to be another great year in the city. We have probably our first city-owned conference center that's going in the former Great Lakes Service Center building, or some of you may remember it as the Dunham store of the mall or the Stage store in the mall. We're moving forward with that, and later this year, you'll see a conference center right in the heart of downtown Stevens Point. We purchased the Shopko building late last year, which means we now control that entire block. And our very first meeting on that, we're having a public meeting. We got some ideas on what we want to do, some housing, mixed use, commercial, filling in Main Street, putting in some nice usable public space and a new transit hub. But we want some public feedback. So January 10th at Midstate Technical College at 6 p.m., we're having the grand unveiling of our idea, if you will. And then we want to hear feedback. What can we tweak? Is this something that you want, you don't want? And how can we make this the best development possible? Of course, the Opera House is still moving along, and we expect them to be open in 2024. That has been a long, drawn-out process, but I tell people they're doing a fabulous job. Talon and his team are restoring it to the historic nature of the original 1900s facade and interior. They're reusing historic materials. And most importantly, the alternative was that we tore it down and we had a big gaping hole in the middle of downtown. And none of us wanted that, of course. We're going to be installing our next couple of artistic light projects. By the end of summer this year, we'll probably be up to 5 along our Green Circle Trail with more on deck. So there's lots of really cool things going on in the city of Stevens Point. And 2024 is really teed up to be another fabulous year.
Well, it's funny you make a golf reference because I don't know that you're going to have any major golf tournaments with the PGA or the USGA like you did this year, but there's still going to be plenty of reasons to visit Stevens Point. Is your point, right?
It absolutely is, and we're thinking about bringing the Bushwood Open to Stevens Point. See if we can get Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Ted Knight, and well, Ted's gone now, so I guess we won't have
And the
Ted.
spirit of Rodney Dangerfield.
And the spirit of Rodney Dangerfield, absolutely.
Those darn
Must be a
Gophers.
man.
Those darn Gophers. Yeah, nobody likes to see that.
Well,
Nobody likes.
we still got a lot of sporting
But
events that are going on. We've got some youth hockey tournaments that are happening in the winter. Of course, UWSP is kicking butt all over the place with their teams, Spash and Pacelli. So winter sports are moving on. We'll be into the spring sports. We'll have things going on all year, even though it won't be as nationally or internationally known as the USGA Men's Senior Open. There's still tons of stuff going on.
yeah, absolutely. And again, you mentioned the meeting for the former Shopco building, what your vision is going to be for that place. I'm guessing what you're hoping to get is as much feedback as possible about what would be the best use for this space. What is the best use for this vision, or the best vision, I should say, for this space?
Yeah.
Basically, I guess what you're going for is an RFP process, except in person.
Yeah, kind of like that. So what we're looking for is ideas on the concept. All right. Most people don't seem to know this if you read social media, but the city doesn't build a Red Lobster. The city doesn't build a Costco or an Olive Garden. And we certainly have no control over what private industry chooses to invest their money in. But what we can do is we can be a catalyst, and we can be encouraging one way or another. So if we want our storefronts downtown to be filled with fast food, and I don't think we do, but we could encourage that, right? We could incentivize that a little higher. I think what we want to do is we want to make sure that our storefronts are viable. I know people talk about a grocery store downtown. Well, I can't create a grocery store any more than the Common Council can. But what we can do is create an environment where someone, maybe Michael Leichner, wants to build a grocery store because he feels he can make some money at it. And that's how the system works. So we can encourage things, but we can't force someone to put in a grocery store. And those are the ideas we're looking for. Like, people have already said, well, you should turn the Shopko building into an indoor sports facility. Well, we don't do that. Someone does. And we do those requests for proposals, that RFP that you mentioned. And someone can come up to us tomorrow and say, hey, I'd like to turn the Shopko building into an indoor sports facility. And here's my plan to do it. And here's what I hope the city can help me with. And we'll say yes or no. But generally speaking, we need housing, because I'll tell you, having people live in an area will help incentivize those other things that you want. If you want a hardware store or a grocery store, you have to be able to make sure that that grocery store owner or hardware store owner has the means to make a living, right? If you can only sell 3 gallons of milk a week, you can't buy in the volume that gives you the prices that people want. Everybody wants, big box store prices, but the convenience of having it just down the road. Well, that doesn't work that way. The scale of economy is different. If you can only sell 10 gallons of milk a week, buying 10 gallons of milk every week is not going to give you a very good price from your wholesaler. Therefore, you have to sell it at a higher price because you paid more for it. But having more people live downtown creates an environment. If I've got an extra 300 or 400 people now living downtown who need bread, milk, eggs, toilet paper, if that's into your thing, you can generally sustain a smaller business like that. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do, and providing that feedback. Not necessarily, oh, I want a store that sells winter clothes and a store that sells backpacks. Not that, but you want to see retail and commercial? Would you like to see office space? Would you like it all residential? Or maybe we just don't build anything and we just keep it a giant parking lot. We want that feedback.
Hmm.
So January 10th, 6 o'clock, Mid-State Technical College in the community room. Everyone's invited, even you people up in Wausau. Uh,
Wow.
so
Well,
hopefully
when
we'll
you
see
put
you
it
there
like
and bring your
that,
ideas. I'm sorry, what was that, Michael?
when you put it like that, well,
Yeah. Spring is well around the corner now, I suppose. We're
you
closer to
think,
spring than
yeah,
we were last fall.
right.
And spring is going to have some elections in April.
Indeed.
The city council has at least 3 seats that have been vacated through retirement or whatever. The incumbents just chose not to run again. So District 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 are all up for election in spring. This will be an April election. Several of them are contested. There's a couple that are not, but regardless, in April, you'll have your chance to choose who represents you if you live in one of those districts. We want to make sure that everybody is registered to vote. You can register ahead of time, either online or in person at the clerk's office. We did change some polling locations, so be sure and check either with the clerk's office or again online to make sure you're voting in the right location. One I can tell you that we did, they used to have the Ruth Gilfrey building as one of our polling locations.
Mhm.
Obviously, with the water damage there, that building is not habitable. So we had to move that to our water department, ironically, I guess. So the water department will be that district's voting area. And the school is going to have a referendum, and you're going to be finding out a lot more about that over the next coming weeks from the school district themselves for regarding their referendum, of course. So lots to look forward to in the spring election as well.
And I know this is always one of your favorite times of year because you're a big local government guy. Obviously,
I'm not that big. I mean, yeah, larger than average, but
you have more local, control over, what happens in your community and, the policies and decisions that are made. You always have the most control over that at the local level. Obviously,
right.
you're a guy that was on the city council before you stepped
Yeah.
into the mayor's seat. So what is the biggest reason to vote in these elections in Mike Wiza's mind? Why is this important?
The biggest reason to vote is because then you have a say in what happens. I know there's a segment of society that really enjoys sitting in their mom's basement and complaining on social media. Some of those people do vote, but generally speaking, most people don't seem to care about local politics until it happens. And then everybody throws up their arms and starts screaming. But now is the time, right? Back in December, if you were interested in representing your section of the city and running for office, December was when you should have been thinking about it, not March. And if you don't get involved in local government, someone's going to make those decisions for you, and you're going to be left in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you get out there, find out where the candidates stand. And I would say this about any election. Find out where the candidates stand on the issues that are important to you. And that may be a stop sign at the corner of your street, or that may be the number of lanes down Business 51, or whether or not we put in an Olive Garden and allow that, or something as significant as property tax values, or where our money gets spent, and all the way up to through the state and through the federal levels. It's really critical that you get out there and make sure your voice is being heard. I can tell you that last county executive race, I think there was less than 20 votes separating the two people.
Mm-hmm.
20 votes. That's less than a city block of people.
Right.
It's insane. So get out there, find out what your candidate supports or doesn't support, and see if they align with you and vote your conscience.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And I can tell you this is something that it's actually my favorite part about this job is the election season and making sure people have the information to vote. Because I can tell you in my job working in this industry in 3 states, I have seen, and there I go, disappearing again. I have
Mm-hmm.
seen too many elections that have come down to a roll of the dice, a coin flip,
Mm-hmm.
a drawing of numbers,
How come
or
they don't do cage matches anymore?
or
Right?
simply a drawing of two pieces of paper. One says winner and one says loser.
Yeah.
I've seen too many elections that have been decided like that, which is why I've always felt it's important every election, every time, no matter what's on the ballot, In my household, the voter turnout is 100%.
Yeah.
Even though my cat probably would like a say as well, but I don't think we're getting to that point yet. Uh, but nonetheless, what my last question for you on this then is, obviously the deadline has passed, but let's say somebody is now just hearing this and saying, you know what, that is something I can do. I can prepare myself over the next 2 years. What's your advice to
Or
them?
or they could run as a write-in. If they really feel strongly about it, you can register as a write-in and run late in the game. Now, the odds are stacked against you, but regardless of whether you are committed to running or not, if you are thinking about getting more involved in local politics, get involved. The proverbial door is always open. You are welcome to come to any of our meetings. You are welcome to speak at any of our meetings. That's one of the first things I did as mayor is passed an ordinance giving every citizen the right, not just a privilege, it's a right to speak at any agenda item that the council is taking action on. So
Mm.
you have a voice. There's tons of committee assignments. Every April, the mayor does what's called a reorganization. Several committee members are up, and if anybody's interested in running or being on any of those committees, and believe me, they cover the entire gamut of absolutely everything that municipal government does. You can submit your application or submit your name to be appointed to one of those committees. You don't even have to run an election. If you're interested in something and we've got some qualifications, we'll get you on a committee and boom, you're making things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real easy. But if you really want to get involved and run for local office, I would strongly suggest that you understand it as much as possible. Come to the meetings, talk to your alderperson, talk to the city department heads, talk to me, talk to colleagues up in Wausau or surrounding cities and say, hey, what's it like? What do I need to do? Take that advice and prepare yourself. We will have odd numbered election districts in odd numbered years. So 2025, we'll see 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 up for. I had to think about that. That's kind of scary. And 11.
Right.
Numbers are hard,
They
but
are.
those will be up in spring of 25. So you may not have to wait 2 years. Get
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor Wiza, we always appreciate the time. We look forward to what's to come here in 2024 and having, well, 12, 11 additional meetings like this throughout the year.
Yeah, and this is I think it was a great season premiere, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I know New Year's resolutions are kind of, blah blah, everybody does one, but I gotta tell you, I've made a New Year's resolution to lose 10 pounds. And
Okay.
here we are in the second. I've only got 15 to go.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. We'll look forward to chatting again next month.
Thanks, Michael. See ya.